capacitors are like a relay runner, whereas batteries are like a marathon runner. Okay, so little energy but could deliver very quickly, but large energy but very slowly. 9.11 seconds, this Usain Bolt could cross 100 meters, but whereas the other person, marathon runner, 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers, hours of running he could make, or any general marathon runners. Similarly, fuel cells are also electrochemical devices or galvanic cell. This voltaic cell also develops positive potentials, and it has got anode, cathode, electrolyte, and the catalyst on the catalyst. Excuse me. Why there is no? One second, please. Yeah. So excuse me. So as long as the fuel is fed on the anode and the oxygen is fed on the cathode, so this fuel can undergo oxidation, oxygen can undergo reduction, producing 1.23 voltage theoretically, and it is also viable technology. Fuel cells are also viable technology, but it's very expensive if you want to integrate it for larger applications, but it's a viable option. So I think we have fourth unit. We will be studying elaborately on different types of fuel cell, what are the characteristic, merits, demerits, etc. Okay, so that's all about the other devices. As of now, we will be separately studying about supercapacitor and the fuel cells in the later units. Let us go back to batteries. So you are now in MTech first year. Maybe next year, after completing all the courses, you will be graduating, and you will be, I hope you will be well versed with the energy terminologies, if not necessarily only batteries. Suppose if you want to develop a battery, commercial battery, new battery you want to develop, not following the technologies available already, you have been given a task to develop a commercial viable battery. What are the options you would look up? What are the terminologies you would consider? What are the parameters you will consider? What are the performances you will consider? Similarly, whenever any product, if any venture wanted to look up or bring it into the market, they make estimate, right? They make a thorough estimate, or they go through the thorough market study before bring the product into the market. Similarly, for batteries, what are the parameters you need to consider when you want to develop a commercial battery? The first and foremost is you should consider whether what type of battery you want to make it, how much voltage it can give, what is the capacity, what is the discharge curve nature, what is the energy density it can provide, specific energy, power density, and temperature influence. What are the dimensions you can have physically? Only coin cell, pouch cell, large cell, etc. What is the charge discharge cycle life you can get? What is the service life or cycle life you can have for that battery? Whether it's going to be affordable or not. Whether the battery that you are planning to develop would be able to have a deep discharge, not just 80% of discharge for the lead acid battery. and whether the battery can be versatile in application, from whether the battery can be used in your remote controller to your smartphone or camcorder, laptop or UPS, electric vehicles, whether the battery can have such a wide applicability, wide usage, or it can be only used in your remote controller. These are the several options you will be looking at. Very important parameters. More than 10 to 12 parameters you have to look up. You have to consider when you want to develop a battery system, or when made available by considering all these parameters. By considering all these parameters. Type of the battery is very important. You want to make it what kind of battery you want to make it. So all these contents are available in this book, Rechargeable Lithium Ion Batteries. So edited by me and my colleague, my friend. So complete first available book. Try to get, if you can get in ebook from the open literature. I have printed version. So the local students, if they are interested, you can come and take photocopy of this, and you can make use of them. All the content that I use it for from here, the half of the first unit content available in this book. So the first unit, first chapter is written by me again, and with my student. This, if you have this content, that's enough for unit 1. Maybe for second semester later, the other chapters may be useful. And this was released very recently by our Honorable Vice Chancellor. 2 months back it was released. So I'm grateful to Vice Chancellor and all the contributing my scholars. So I have physical book with me. I have only one copy. I have recommended this copy to university library. I hope they will be buying. If not this year, maybe following year they may buy. This is what kind of battery you want to make is very important. Whether you want to make a primary type battery or secondary type battery, rechargeable battery or non-rechargeable battery, both have merits. Last class we have seen both have their own applications. You need not use secondary batteries in place of where the primary battery alone enough, or vice versa. It cannot be sometimes. Wherever secondary batteries have their role, it cannot be simply met by primary batteries. It can meet, but you will not get the same performances. Type of the battery is very important. Even if any venture wanted to make a new type of battery, because the demand for the primary batteries are different, demand for the secondary batteries are different. So it's important that you make a point, you make a decision whether you want to make a primary battery and a secondary battery. I think I left one open-ended question in the last class. Why batteries are called primary batteries, secondary batteries? We could have named it as a rechargeable battery, non-rechargeable batteries. Why they have kept primary and secondary? Have anybody looked up? Have you ever given thought on this? Did I make this question or not in the last class? Yes, right?
Yes, sir.
Anybody has some response? Why batteries are classified or called as primary battery and secondary battery?
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir, we have two type elements.
Pardon, please.
Sir, we have two type elements:
Okay.
active elements and passive elements.
Active
Active
elements.
elements is that which give energy, passive elements which use the energy.
Okay, active based on the active elements and the passive elements. So you mean active elements are used in the secondary battery and the passive elements are used in primary battery. What do you mean by active and passive? Any other thought? Anybody
So
else? Yes,
primary
please.
batteries can be recharged, cannot be recharged, while secondary battery can be recharged.
Yeah. Yeah, so primary batteries are otherwise called non-rechargeable battery and the secondary batteries are otherwise called rechargeable battery. They could have given just rechargeable battery, non-rechargeable battery. Why primary battery, secondary battery?
So normally
Maybe
we say primary and secondary on the basis of the timeline in which they are invented, or
Yeah, we
how
can
much.
give example. We can give examples for primary battery, secondary battery. My question is why it is primary battery? Why secondary battery? It's a valid question, right? Okay. You still look up. Next class I will discuss. Okay, so the next parameter is voltage. Very, very important. We have so many elements, at least 120 elements in the periodic table. You will find at least 110 elements in the periodic table. There are claims 120 elements. But we are not having so many battery technologies. And we know that now, by now we know that you require two electrodes, two elements in the form of electrode required to make a battery. We have, even if you consider 100 elements, you should be having 100 factorials of redox couple possible. How many? This is one competitive exam question. We have so many elements. How many battery technologies may be possible theoretically? But only viable battery technologies are available. It's factorial, 100 factorial. So that batteries should have been possible. But we have only countable number of battery technologies. Only 15, less than 20 technologies are commercially viable and it is being implemented. Why? You will get to know the answer for this question. Okay. Voltage is very, very important. When you couple one anode and one cathode, or when you couple a redox system, the redox system should provide a significant positive potential. Then only it can be a meaningful battery, you can have it. Whether primary battery, secondary battery, rechargeable non-battery, that's different. When you combine two electrodes, the resultant electrode potential voltage should be at least 1 and above. We have seen previously, there are redox couple which generates 0.45 voltage. There are redox system which develop 1.1 voltage. There are redox system, they develop negative potential, sometimes zero potential also. If the potential is 0.5, what is the use of such battery? Or you might have several batteries to have at least 110 voltage or 230 voltage. That's not practically possible. Okay, so electrode potential we know. What is electrode potential we know. And standard electrode potential also we know. It is the difference between the anode and the cathode potentials. And cell voltage we know. Cell voltage in the standard condition we know. This is the standard condition cell voltage. And the non-standard condition or any condition cell voltage is given by Nernst equation, which equates to the concentration of the analytes, anode, cathode, including the electrolyte. E naught is the cell voltage theoretically, can be obtained from the Gibbs equation or from the standard reduction potential table. And E cell potential at cell voltage at any condition can be obtained from the Nernst equation. We should know that we will never be able to get the cell voltage equal to that of the standard cell potential. No. There are no ideal batteries because we will always have less than or higher than this standard reduction potential. Usually less than. cell voltage under non-standard condition is mostly less than that of the standard reduction potential table. Standard reduction potential. There are reasons. One reason is polarization and IR drop. Main reasons. Temperature influence. The electrode reactions may be very poor or slow. Will also contribute to lower the cell potential at a non-standard condition. What is polarization? It's a resistance to flow of the electron by the electrodes. So it depends on the conductivity of the electrodes. What is the resistance losses or IR drop? What is this IR drop? We know that apart from electrode and electrolyte, electrodes, we need to have electrolyte. And mostly these are all liquid based electrolytes. These days we are talking about solid electrolyte. Otherwise, we have liquid based electrolyte, at least gel type electrolyte in lead acid battery, AGM, or even lithium polymer batteries, gel type electrolyte. They are not having super duper conductivity, or they have resistances. Resistances to flow against the ions. Resistance to flow the electrons on the electrodes. Resistance to flow the ions in the electrolyte will lead to reduction in the cell voltage. Otherwise, the temperature of the battery operation also will lower the cell voltage. And the rate of the redox reactions, reduction oxidation reaction, depending on the higher or lower or quicker or slower, the cell voltage can be different. And of course, the concentration of the analytes, anode, cathode, oxidized, reduced product, including the electrolyte concentration, will determine the cell voltage. In all, we will never able to get the cell voltage at a non-standard condition, which will be equal to that of the standard conditions. E equal to E naught. E is not equal to E naught always, because of various reasons. We have several terminologies for the voltage. Theoretical voltage, open circuit voltage, closed circuit voltage, nominal voltage, working voltage, average voltage, midpoint voltage, end voltage or cutoff voltage. When you are going to be a battery engineer or battery scientist, I'm sure you will have to consider all these battery technologies, battery voltages. Or when you are going to interact with the battery, okay, so for larger application, maybe a grid store applications or wind turbine application, using wind turbines, you need to consider all these battery terminologies, battery voltage terminologies. You should be knowing what is the theoretical voltage of the battery that we are going to use it, whether for solar photovoltaic applications or wind turbine applications. What is the open circuit voltage of the battery? What is the closed circuit working voltage, etc. Let's take one by one terminal, and let's try to understand what are these battery voltage terminologies. What is theoretical voltage? I'm sure by now you should be familiar with what is theoretical voltage. We have done several numerical problems. Apart from my PPT, we have taken several numerical problems from the GATE and the CSIR questions. Please pay attention to those questions. What is theoretical voltage? It's a combination of electrode and electrodes. Thermodynamic voltage, otherwise known as thermodynamic voltage, or standard cell voltage, is the theoretical cell voltage. Theoretical voltage. You need to have one anode and one cathode. Combine them with a suitable electrolyte at a 25 degree. That is what the theoretical cell voltage is. You should be able to get 1.1 cell voltage for the Daniell cell or Lagrange cell or voltaic cell, which is having zinc and copper as electrodes. You should get 2.04 voltage as a theoretical cell voltage if you combine lead and lead dioxide with the sulfuric acid and electrolyte. Similarly, you should be able to get theoretical voltage of at least 3.5 voltage when you combine lithium cobalt oxide or generally lithium tungsten metal oxide as a cathode and lithium metal as a anode, or little less if you are using graphite as an anode, theoretically at 25 degree. And we know that theoretical voltage can never be achieved practically. Then we have open circuit voltage. So when you assemble it actually, and when the battery is not connected to the load, then you measure the cell voltage. Circuit, close the circuit with the voltage sensor on non-load condition. That is what the open circuit voltage. This will be nearly equal to that of the theoretical voltage, but it will never be equal to that of the theoretical voltage, approximately. Approximately. So unlike in the case of fuel cell, batteries will give nearly theoretical voltage, believe it or not. Well, fuel cells may not give the theoretical cell voltage. Theoretical cell voltage of fuel cell is 1.23. You will read 0.7, 0.8. There are several reasons why. Okay. So the voltage that you measure on the battery on non-load condition is known as OCV, or open circuit voltage, or it is also known as open circuit potential. But I recommend open circuit voltage. What is closed circuit voltage? You connect the load. Load will take up some power, current, or load from the battery. Then you measure that time what is the voltage of the battery. That is the closed circuit voltage or short circuit voltage. You will learn similar terminology in the solar cell, short circuit voltage or short circuit current. Similar to here, similar to that, here we have closed circuit voltage. Measure the voltage, sense the voltage of a battery under load condition. You connect an LED, you connect maybe your smartphone or any other device and measure what is the voltage is the closed circuit voltage. What is nominal voltage and working voltage? As the name implies, within which the battery can be operated. It is the working voltage of a battery. This is different from that of the theoretical voltage, always less than that. It's always less than that of the theoretical voltage and open circuit voltage. 1.5 for the zinc manganese dioxide battery. What is that battery I'm talking about? Zinc manganese dioxide battery. Can anybody translate into a better terminology for this battery, this type of battery? Zinc manganese dioxide battery. Can anyone give another terminology for that? So when I say zinc manganese dioxide battery, what comes to your mind? No, sir, nothing comes. It is zinc manganese dioxide battery, and it can provide. Not clear. Your voice is not clear. Somebody else, please. Zinc manganese dioxide battery is nothing but dry cell. Zinc as an anode, manganese dioxide as a cathode is a primary dry cell. Could deliver 1.5 voltage. The battery that is being used in this is of that nature. The battery that is being used is that nature. This is the battery. Alkaline primary battery, dry cell, alkaline primary battery. It consists of zinc can and inside manganese dioxide. We will be studying in the next unit. At least 4 types of manganese dioxides are possible. AMD, NMD, CMD, EMD. Then we have average voltage. As the name implies, we have a cutoff voltage for the during discharging, and we have a cutoff voltage for during the charging. You take average of that. It is the average voltage. So this is linked with the midpoint voltage or mid voltage. So half of that is the midpoint voltage. Very important. All these parameters are very important, to know. If you are not well versed with the what is the working voltage of your battery that you are going to use it for your solar photovoltaic application, how will you fix the charging and the discharging? Similarly, average voltage, you should be knowing this is the voltage you will be able to get average when the battery is operated for your domestic applications or industrial applications, and the power can be derived from the solar and it can be charged in the battery and it should be discharged, and you should be knowing what is the average voltage it can deliver. And cutoff voltage is very important parameter by which you should be able to monitor the health of the battery during the charging as well as the discharging. Okay, end point voltage or cutoff voltage is the voltage, end voltage during the discharge. Charging also important. Several voltage terminals you need to consider when you want to develop a practical battery system. Not necessarily with the primary battery, large battery, rechargeable battery or non-rechargeable battery, any batteries. I have a specific numbers here for lead acid battery, the good old Geston battery. Theoretical voltage and open circuit voltage are 2.04 or 0.03, 2.03 voltage. And you see, and its nominal voltage is not 2.03, it is slightly less, 2.0 voltage. If you have 100 batteries connected in series, how many voltage you would have lost? Theoretically itself, 30 millivolt you would have lost. And due to this connection, if more resistance are added, it will still reduce the voltage. It will not be no longer additive. It will be still like less, definitely less. And this is the nominal voltage or working voltage for the lead acid battery. So when somebody says lead acid battery, a single battery, it means that it can provide 2 voltage nominally. Working voltage. No. This nominal voltage. Nominal voltage. But its working voltage is between 1.8 and 2 voltage. It's not between 0 and 2 voltage. You cannot discharge beyond 1.8 voltage. In the worst cases, in the case of traction battery, you can go up to 1.5 voltage, not less than that. If you go less than that, it is not possible to recharge the lead acid battery. It is not possible to recharge the lead acid battery. Electrolyte becomes more watery. You will have only water, not sulfuric acid. If you have only water, how it is possible to pick up the charge? How the battery can pick up the charge? Because there are no moving ions. In sulfuric acid, the moving ions are H plus and sulfate. But in water, only H2O is there. There are no moving ions. So that's why I'm telling you. So depth of discharge for the lead acid battery is maximum 80%. So it means if the full depth of discharge is 2 voltage, you should be able to discharge up to 1.8. 20% of the charge should be always kept in lead acid battery. Then only it can be used efficiently. Repeatedly several times you can do charging and discharging. If you do DOD 100%, the life of the battery will go down or the battery will not function properly. Full potential, full battery performance, it is not possible to get. So maybe in the case of SLI battery or traction battery, so you can go little bit lower than 1.8 voltage. In any case, not less than 1.5 voltage. Not in any case, less than 1.5 voltage. So during the charging, the battery can be charged up to 2.8 voltage. This is the characteristic you should be remembering. This is for single battery. So you can add, maybe if you have a group of battery back, 100 batteries are group. You can combine these numbers and you need to arrive it and you will have to adopt it. If you have 100 batteries, you should be able to get nominal voltage 200. If you want to have a 230 voltage, you take 130 voltage, 115 cells, so that you will get 230 voltage. In fact, there is a battery sizing problem, numerical problem. So, for example, in any home or consider any solar powered home, which uses maybe 2 fans or 2 lights and 1 TV set. And it is to be used for about, for example, 12 hours. If it has to be used for 12 hours, and assume that it is solar powered, daytime you can directly use it from solar, but in the night time, you'll have to store it in the battery and use it in the night time. What is the size of the battery? You can have it. What is the nominal voltage? What is the working voltage? Very important, those things. Okay. So I told you that, so we will be never able to get the nominal voltage, or the open circuit voltage will never be equal to that of the theoretical voltage, theoretical cell voltage. There are reasons. It is expected that battery should deliver its voltage like this, ideal battery curve. But quite often the voltage delivery is in this fashion. This plot is known as discharge profile. This plot is known as discharge curve. Since there are 3 curves, you can call it as a 3 discharge curves. Discharge curve is nothing but a plot of voltage versus time. A plot of cell voltage versus the time during discharge. In any ideal condition, any ideal battery, so it should be having this kind of plateau potential. Once all the charges are consumed, then battery should decline to 0, should reach the 0 potential. Till then, it should be able to theoretically or ideally should provide a plateau potential, constant potential, theoretically, ideally, but there are no ideal battery systems available. It is like sloping like this, very slope. Then there is some looks like a constant potential and is known as plateau region or plateau potential. Then too much sloping at the end of a battery drain or battery discharge. And in this case, from the beginning itself, too much sloping is there. At least in this case is okay. To some extent, there is a plateau. Towards the end of complete discharge, there is a sloping. But in this case, from the beginning itself, there is a sloping. So I thought somebody joined. Why such behavior? Why not batteries are not showing the ideal discharge curve? It shows a different curve, plateau potential. And you see here in the curve 1 and curve 2, there is a reduction in the discharge time. Potential window may be same, but there is a reduction in the discharge time. Can anyone guess what it will imply if the discharge time is reduced? You should be able to. So a battery operated under this condition, and the battery operated under this condition, there is a reduction in the discharge time. What does it mean? What we can infer?
The reactions are very fast, sir.
Okay. What does literally mean? Okay, so let's assume this is discharge time. Not assume, this is discharge time. X-axis is a discharge time. Let's assume here 10 hours. Here it will be 8 hours. This may be 6 hours. Ideally, the battery is expected to deliver 10 hours constant potential. But in this case, It delivers only 8 hours. And here 6 hours or 7 hours. What it implies?
Overloading, sir.
Yeah, so the loads are different. So where it reflects? The capacity delivered by this battery is larger, or this time is larger compared to this, or in this case capacity is lost. How much capacity is lost? Significant capacity is lost. If it is 1 ampere current you are discharging and this is 8 hour, what is the capacity? We are too early for, I'm too early to ask this question, but you should be able to tell.
1 year, sir.
1 Ah, yes, 8 Ah, not 1 Ah, 8 Ah. 1 ampere cover, 1 ampere current, discharging for 8 hours, it is 8 ampere hour capacity. The same one, so the same battery, if the battery is subjected to maybe 5 ampere current, is not going to give you for 8 hours of discharge. It may be 4 hours of discharge. 4 hours of discharge. What is the capacity here now? Or maybe less than that, 5 times less than that. Instead of 8 hours, 8 hours, it may be 1 hour. Practically. So 1 ampere current delivering for 8 hour capacity is 8 Ah. The same battery, if it is subjected to high load or high C rate, please wait, I will explain what is C rate later. 5 ampere current may be delivering for 1 ampere, 1 hour. The capacity has reduced from 8 Ah to 5 Ah. There is a reduction in the capacity. So reduction in the discharge time. This happens when the battery is subjected to high load delivery or discharging load, or when the battery is operated at a IC rate. IC rate. So why such a difference? Why we are not getting the full capacity ideal curve? Always, you please wait for the answers, maybe later, maybe next class or next to next class. So when we talk about higher C rate, that time I will explain. Here the take home point from this slide is, so this is a discharge profile, which is a voltage versus time. Ideal battery is expected to deliver the constant potential, plateau potential, until all the charges are exhausted. Once the charges are exhausted, extracted or discharged, it should drain to zero. But there are no ideal batteries, but they have a plateau potentials, sloping potentials during the discharge. Depending on the load, you have a reduction in the capacity or reduction in the discharge time. Instead of 8 hours, it works for 1 hour, or 4 hours, 5 hours, less than this one. There is a reduction in the capacity. And initially itself, there is a loss. Ideal battery should provide the theoretical thermodynamic cell voltage or battery voltage. But there itself, there is a loss. Potential is lost. Ideal potential is this, but this much millivolt is lost. And when you are subjecting the battery for high C rate, this loss is still very much significant. Significant. Few millivolt is lost. Sometimes it will be volt also, 1 volt also, 0.5 volt also. 500 millivolt will be lost just when you initiate the discharge itself. So it's because of the internal resistance of the electrolyte or the battery resistance. When I say battery resistance, it means the electrolyte resistance, electrode resistance. Very specifically, electrolyte resistance. If the electrolyte is not having a sufficient ionic conductivity or ionic conductivity, okay, it's going to reflect in the too much internal resistance, not IR drop. Too much IR drop. You will be lost initially itself. Then definitely it will not going to perform as you expect. Okay, so this is a discharge curve. Similar to this, you can also make a charging curve. Can you imagine how the charging curve for this battery type can be? How the
Sir,
charging curve?
voltage will rise from left to right, sir.
Opposite of that, you keep a mirror. You keep a mirror and reflect it. That will be the charging curve. You'll see later. Okay, so the next very important parameter is capacity. Theoretical capacity, very specifically. When you want to develop a battery, you need to consider the theoretical capacity of the electrode. Very important. This should be as high as possible when you want to employ them or use them as an electrode for battery applications. You need to select the electrode in such a way that it delivers high theoretical capacity. What is this capacity? Is the quantity of the electricity that is being stored in the electrochemical reaction. You know that on electrode, electrochemical reaction will take place. Either oxidation or reduction will take place. It can be termed as an anode or cathode, depending on the type of the reaction it is taking place on it. What is the amount of electricity involved when such reaction is taking place? Can be quantified in terms of theoretical capacity. Okay, so it is given in milliampere hour or ampere hour. Ampere hour if it is a large unit, large number. Milliampere hour if it is a small number. And it is possible to estimate theoretically before you employ them as an electrode for a battery. It is possible to estimate what is the theoretical capacity a electrode can provide using this standard equation. Theoretical capacity of a cathode or theoretical capacity of an anode, C is equal to NF by M or NF by W, where N is number of electrons involved in the electrochemical reaction, F is Faraday's constant, 96,500 coulombs, and M or W is mass of the electrode. Please note here it is specifically atomic mass or molecular mass. Atomic mass or molecular mass. We are talking about electrode theoretical capacity, and this number finally should be as high as possible. N is number of electron. It can be 0.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. You can directly tell that higher this N, larger the theoretical capacity. Instead of 1 electron involvement in the electrochemical reaction, if it involves 3 electrons, you will get 3 times higher capacity theoretically. So you can simplify this standard equation into 26.8 divided by M. N into 26.8 divided by M or W. This equation you should be remembering throughout your studies, at least whenever during my classes there. I will be frequently using this equation. Theoretical capacity C is equal to N into 26.8 divided by M or W ampere hour per gram. Ampere hour per gram. You should be remembering. How this 26.8 comes? This is how it comes. You divide Faraday constant, ampere second, then you want to convert into ampere hour, you divide by 3600, so you will get 26.8. This is one interview question. Popular interview question. You will be asked to provide reason how in theoretical capacity 26.8 comes. This is how it comes. This is how it comes. If you know the N, if you know the mass of electrode, atomic mass or molecular mass, you should be able to theoretically predict what is the theoretical capacity of an electrode. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. voltages. Let us take few examples. I'm sure by now you'll be able to accept that these are all popular electrodes. PbO2 is a popular electrode. Where it is used? It is used in lead acid battery. As an anode or cathode? As a cathode, it is used in lead acid battery. Nickel oxyhydroxide is again cathode used in nickel metal hydride battery or nickel cadmium battery, nickel iron battery. Only anodes are different there. And these are also cathodes used in lithium ion batteries. Lithium cobalt oxide, lithium nickel oxide, lithium manganese oxide, lithium iron oxide. Or you name any electrodes. Can you name any other electrode? Name any other electrode. What is it? Huh?
Zinc, sir.
Yes, very good. Zinc. Zinc is an electrode. We have seen here.
Zinc, sir.
Zinc is an electrode. In zinc manganese dioxide electrode, battery, zinc is acting as an electrode. You will see later it is acting as an anode. Acting as an anode. Any other electrode? Anybody else?
Lead, sir, in lead acid battery.
Lead. Lead is an anode in lead acid battery. Here lead dioxide is a cathode in lead acid battery. I am looking one more answer. One more response.
Copper, silver, sir.
Lithium.
In principle, they can be electrode. I am looking for one copper electrode. Two copper electrodes. You know that. Yeah. Who is that?
Cadmium.
Lithium carbon, sir.
Carbon. Carbon is an electrode. Where it is used? Few minutes back only I completed that statement. Graphite, nothing but carbon, is used as anode in lithium ion battery. What is its theoretical potential? Reduction potential minus 2.9, slightly less than that of lithium metal. Reduction potential minus 3.04 is the reduction potential of lithium, and lithiated graphite or just graphite is minus 2.9 voltage. Lithium metal, why you are not telling that? Lithium is an electrode used as an anode in lithium ion battery. Initially, it was used as an anode as anode in lithium ion battery. These days, it is replaced by graphite or carbon. We will take one or two examples and try to estimate the theoretical capacity. You take, maybe this lead dioxide is complicated. You take lead. Lead is a anode in lead acid battery. So when I say anode, it means it undergoes oxidation. So lead should lose electron. It loses how many electrons? Maybe previously we have seen, I don't know whether we have seen it or not. Maybe we have seen. Yes, I have shown one slide. Anode reaction for lead acid battery, cathode reaction for lead acid battery. How many electrons are releasing lead?
2 electrons.
2 electrons. Then that equation is not here. Lead becomes lead 2 plus 2 electrons. That is the 2 here. There is a 2 here. 2 electrons are involved in this reaction. We are talking about electrode reaction or electrochemical reaction for an electrode. Here the electrode is lead, oxidizes. Lead becomes lead 2 plus, leaving 2 electrons. And this is an oxidation reaction. It's an electrochemical reaction and it is oxidation. How many electrons are involved? 2 electrons are involved. You take that 2 here. 2 into 26.8 divided by M or W. What is M or W? Mass of lead. And I told you that you need to consider the atomic mass or molecular mass. You will consider atomic mass or molecular mass for lead electrode. It's difficult, right? O and O2. Which is atom, which is a molecule?
O2 is molecule.
O2 is a molecule. O is atom. What is the atomic mass of oxygen? What is the atomic mass of oxygen molecule? Are they same or different?
Different, sir.
Different. Oxygen atom has a molecular mass of 16. Oxygen molecule has the molecular mass of 32 because two atoms are there in oxygen molecule. So 16 plus 16, 32. So similarly, you will consider atomic mass for lead, or is there any possibility for molecular mass for lead? It's only atomic mass. How much is the atomic mass of lead? You cannot be remembering. Nobody will remember this. 207. It should be given. It's available in the periodic table. 207. Only lead becoming lead 2 plus. So now you got all the numbers. What is the theoretical capacity of lead anode or lead electrode used as anode in lead acid battery? Now you should be able to get. Please work out and tell me.
0.258 ampere hour per gram.
Very good. 2 into 26.8 divided by 207. 2 into 26.8 divided by 207. How much it is?
0.258 ampere hour per gram.
Okay, 0.258.
Yes, sir.
So 0.258 ampere hour per gram. Is that correct? Anybody else is getting different number?
Same answer, sir.
2 into 26.8 divided by 207. 0.258 ampere hour per gram. And this number, will it be convenient to express in 0.2598 ampere hour, or can be given in a different number, better number?
Milliampere hours.
Yes. So 258 milliampere hour per gram is the theoretical capacity for lead electrode, can be used as or is used as an anode in lead acid battery. Similarly, please try for lead dioxide. It is a atomic species or molecular species? Or species, right? It's a molecular species. There are 3 atoms in PbO2, lead and 2 oxygen. You will consider atomic mass or molecular mass. It is appropriate to use molecular mass because it's no longer atom. It's a combination of atoms, compound. For compound, you have to use molecular mass. What is molecular mass of PbO2? Pb plus 2O. Mass of atom of mass of Pb plus 2 atomic masses of oxygen, or 207 plus 32. How much? (207 plus 32). So anybody can tell, right? You know. 239.
239.
Yes, 239 grams. Now you got the molecular mass of PbO2. How many electrons will be involved in the reaction? Okay, so before that, PbO2, it's a cathode used in lead acid battery. What is the state of lead present in this compound? What is the state? So what do I mean by state? Oxidation state. You know there is oxidation state for some metal ions, right? Metals, metal ions. In lead, oxygen state of lead is 0. In Pb2 plus, oxygen state of lead is plus 2. Similarly, in PbO2, what is the oxygen state of Pb? Can anybody respond? Okay. Valency of the oxygen is always 2, minus 2. There are 2 oxygens here, minus 2 I said. And this is a neutral molecule. There are no charges, no positive charges, negative charges here. It is a neutral. 2 oxygen, each oxygen has a minus 2 valency. And this is a neutral species. Then automatically how many positive should have been there for lead?
4, sir.
Plus 4. It's a plus 4. Plus 4 minus 4, neutral. 0. Neutral species. That plus 4 is the oxygen state of lead in this compound. Okay. So now you can respond. What is the oxygen state of lead in PbO2? It is plus 4. And how it becomes in the lead acid battery? It becomes PbSO4. PbO2 becomes PbSO4. In PbO2, Pb is in plus 4 state. In PbSO4, what is the state of lead? This is a textbook information. 8th standard, 10th standard informations. This is also neutral species, PbSO4.
Steel
When I
plus
say
4,
neutral,
sir.
they are not like ionic species. SO4 2 minus, Li plus, but here neutral. Sulfate has the valency or charge of minus 2. And this is a neutral species. Then how many positives should have been there for lead? Plus 2.
Plus 2.
Someone told, yes, plus 2. Initially, before discharging, how much charging? How much was the charge of valency of the lead? Plus 4. Plus 4 is now become plus 2. Plus 4 has become now plus 2. How many electrons are involved or consumed? So obviously 2 electrons. In the case of lead electrode, how many electrons we are releasing? 2 electrons. This is a cathode. How many electrons are consumed? 2 electrons are consumed. So in this equation, again the number will become 2. 2 into 26.8 divided by m or w. What is the mass here? Okay, now the question is, estimate the theoretical capacity of lead dioxide, which is used as a cathode in lead acid battery. That is the question. Please tell me. All informations are provided.
$224 milliamp hour per gram, sir.
Very good. Previously for lead, it was 258 milliampere hour, and this is slightly less. Why this capacity, this theoretical capacity is less? Can you guess why? You should be knowing. Why they are not same? Because the masses are different. There it was 207. All others are remain same. Only mass is different. There it was 207 for lead, and here 239. 32 grams higher. So slightly less capacity. Okay. So the theoretical capacity of lead is 258 or whatever number milliampere hour per gram, and that of lead dioxide is 229 or 224 milliampere hour per gram. What is the cell capacity? You can have it combination of these two, because these two going to be the anode and the cathode. Theoretically, combination of this anode capacity, cathode capacity theoretically is the theoretical cell capacity of the battery. So you can take some time, maybe later, take down these other electrodes and use this periodic table, use these reactions and try to estimate the theoretical capacity for rest of these electrodes. Rest of these electrodes. So we will continue in the next class. Thank you very much. So if anybody would like to make some comments, clarification, suggestions, you are welcome to ask. Yeah. So people are responding here. So pardon, I'm not able to see this during the presentation. Tracer, Sedaram respond.